For the past 5 years, my shady boyfriend Dante has been lying to me about who he really is. First, it started with small lies that didn't seem like a big deal. He'd tell me he was working late, or that he was too busy to meet my friends, or he'd make excuses about why he couldn't be with me for certain events. "It's not that big of a deal, babe. I just have other things going on right now," he'd say. "You're overreacting." But I wasn't overreacting. In fact, I knew something was up. It wasn't just the little white lies anymore. It was the constant need for secrecy. Whenever we'd talk about his past, he'd deflect. I'd ask about his childhood, his family, his exes, but he'd always find a way to change the subject or give me vague, contradictory answers. If I pushed too hard, he'd get defensive, accusing me of being paranoid or insecure. Over time, I started feeling like I was losing my mind. Why didn't he want to let me in? Why couldn't he trust me with his truth? The lies started to pile up. He'd cancel plans, always citing work as the reason. He promised me a weekend getaway for our anniversary, but when the day came, he claimed something had come up at work. I started to notice that I was the one making all the effort in our relationship, constantly trying to plan dates or surprises, only to be met with excuses or empty promises. Something didn't feel right, and yet I kept convincing myself that it was just my imagination. Then came the day I found out Dante had been talking to another woman behind my back. I was already suspicious, so I decided to check his phone. When I saw the text messages, my heart sank. It wasn't just casual chatting, it was flirtatious, intimate, the kind of thing you'd expect from someone who was in a relationship with someone else. I felt betrayed, humiliated, and angry all at once, but when I confronted him, he didn't even look guilty. His response? "You're being paranoid." I was just being friendly. That was the moment I knew I was being lied to, manipulated, and taken for granted for far too long. I couldn't take it anymore, so I had to do more digging about who this woman was and what was actually going on. One night, he told me another white lie to get out of the house. I decided to follow him. I snuck into my car a minute after he left and followed him all the way to a random house in the suburbs. He had a house key and everything. When he disappeared into the home, I had no idea what to do. Do I wait? Do I go knock on the door? I set all my anxiety and stress aside. I had to get to the bottom of this, and if I didn't, I would die constantly wondering who he truly is. I felt a rush of clarity, a sudden understanding that I have to go up to the house. When I got to the front door, I hesitated. It was very quiet outside. You could hear a pin drop. Now was the time. I stretched out my shaking arm to the door and knocked loudly and hard 5 times. A few moments of waiting, and then a woman answered the door. "Hi," she said sweetly. "Can I help you?" I froze. I didn't know what to say. She tried again. Hello?" I pushed myself to speak. Hi, is Dante home?" She replied in a confused tone. Yes. Who are you?" I thought about lying, maybe even saying I was a Jehovah's Witness, but I didn't. I told the damn truth. "I'm his girlfriend." "Who are you?" She looked just as out of it as I was when I broke the news. I'm Kai, his wife." Kai, the name of the woman Dante was texting. We stood there, staring at each other. Neither of us moved, not until Dante came to the door. He showed up at the doorway with a child in his arms. He froze along with us. His wife turned around to look at him. Before I could say a word, she slammed the door in my face. I could hear her screaming, crying, and yelling on the other side. I started to cry. Why did I come? I regret my choice. However, a part of me was relieved. I confirmed my suspicions and found him to be the liar that he was. I ran back to my car and drove away, completely in tears. I was so clouded by my sadness and wet eyes that I started to speed. I couldn't see where I was going. I slid off the road and slammed into a fence. I totaled my car, broke my left arm, and gave myself a concussion. It was the worst experience of my life, and I'm lucky to be alive. My relationship may have died that day, but hey, at least I didn't.